Hey friends, you ready to take your teaching beyond the classroom and into the virtual world? Join my free Virtual Teaching 101 webinar, where I'll show you how to transform your in-person workshops into profitable online courses. You don't need fancy tech or endless editing hours, just a simple, proven process that works. Don't miss this chance to gain the freedom to teach from anywhere and increase your income. Grab your spot now at academyforvirtualteaching.com. I can't wait to see you there.
Because if you're not worried about where things are, if you know exactly, I know exactly where that video file is, I know exactly where I can get that email to respond to that person, then you don't have to waste that mental energy that would be using to find things, and you can be more creative. And I also attribute it just to being like, reducing clutter in your own environment. Like I have my filter on most of the time because I'm like, you don't want to see my desk around me. There's way too much clutter. But it's that same aspect is like you think freer when you know where things are. If you have that confidence in the back end of your systems that you can get what you need when you need it, then you have more clarity in your everyday business.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the newest episode of Creatives on Camera. If you're an entrepreneur teaching, designing patterns, or running a shop and feeling like video is just too complicated or time-consuming, you're in the right place. This podcast is your guide to creating video content that connects authentically with your audience, builds your business, and expands your reach without the stress of a huge production or expensive equipment. We make it simple, effective, doable. I'm Lyric Montgomery Kinard, an artist, educator, and host of the show. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies to help you confidently share your creativity online. Let's get started. Hello, friends. I am here with Adrienne Farrow, who is a phenomenal expert for using Google tools to organize your business. And you might be thinking, what on earth does this have to do with creating video content, whether it's for marketing or for online courses? But I am telling you, she is magic. The knowledge she has in her head of how to use these tools can really, truly help your business to flow, to be organized, to be easier, because none of us have a ton of extra time to do all the things. We're already doing all the things, right? So Adrienne, welcome. And I would love it if you would give us a quick background, where you're coming from and how you got to be the magician that you are now.
Sounds great. Hi, everyone. My name's Adrienne, and I'm your Google BFF, your handy dandy go-to person when it comes to everything to do with Google tools. And I was actually originally a teacher for 10 years, and literally, and I'm not joking, taught almost every grade from kindergarten through high school special education in one capacity or another. I had my hands and toes in each of those grades. But what was the constant for me was I was always the techie one. I was always the one implementing technology and then training teachers on technology integration. And Google started to come out with their education tools right around the mid part of my career. And so when COVID hit in 2020, I was prepared. I knew what to do because I had been doing all of these technological online things. And so I started training other teachers how to use Google tools effectively online, which led me to become a Google certified trainer. But also it opened up my eyes to the world of online business. And I became a virtual assistant during that time and started turning educational products that were meant for the classroom, like paper pencil activities, into digital activities. And so I did that for a couple years. And through that process, I realized that I was also training my clients and the people that I was working with on how to organize the back end of their business, because it was not only the forward facing things, but the back end mattered so much. And I actually got diagnosed with ADHD, like 2022, and it just made my whole world make sense. Everything made sense to me.
This is such a common story among creatives. You and me both, friend.
Yep. And it was like light bulb went off. But then I also, as I was learning about my brain and how my brain worked, I was also learning about systems and how I could implement the systems in the back of my business to help alleviate the overwhelm I was feeling, to help alleviate just the stress of where was things? I can't find this. Do I have to recreate it? All those different things in my brain. And when I cracked that code for myself, I decided to start teaching it to other people. And I've been doing that for about the last year and a half, is teaching online business owners, whoever has some sort of presence online that uses Google tools, how to be productive and efficient using Google tools in the back end of your business that makes sense for you and your brain, because you're a unique individual. You need to find the system that works for you. And a lot of times it's just knowing what's possible with Google tools. If you don't know what's out there and what exists and what Google tools can do, then you're not able to implement it. And so that's what I like to do, is shine a light on what's possible.
And there are so very many things. I had you come do a power hour with me because my business has so many different parts, running the Academy for Virtual Teaching, but I still teach my own on-demand classes. I still teach my own art techniques. And the things that you showed me and the way you showed me to organize were like, oh, I didn't know that existed. And oh, that makes so much sense. And oh, these things can connect and cut out 5 different steps of my process. It's so helpful to talk to somebody who understands and knows what's out there. Always talk to somebody who knows more than you do so you can learn. It's not intimidating. It's super helpful. So tell me a couple things that you think about the why behind this. How does being organized and why does being organized become a crucial part of running any kind of online business?
I think a lot of it is that I call it digital clutter. The digital clutter that we have in our Google Drive or our Gmail or even our calendar, it takes so much more brain power than we realize. And that when we're able to free up that digital clutter, then we expand our ability to be creative. We expand that mental capacity to think creatively and think in different ways. Because if you're not worried about where things are, if you know exactly, I know exactly where that video file is, I know exactly where I can get that email to respond to that person, then you don't have to waste that mental energy that would be using to find things, and you can be more creative. And I also attribute it just to being like, reducing clutter in your own environment. Like I mean, I have my filter on most of the time because I'm like, you don't want to see my desk around me. There's way too much clutter. But it's that same aspect is like, you think freer when you know where things are. If you have that confidence in the back end of your systems that you can get what you need when you need it, then you have more clarity in your everyday business.
I can't tell you how many times I've been ready to film something or ready to tackle a task in my business, and then I can't remember where I put the file that I need for that thing. I don't remember if it's in a Google Drive or in Dropbox or in my desktop files and folders. And it's hilarious. It's like the cobbler's shoes having, or the, right? Cobbler's children having no shoes. That's the metaphor I was going for, right? I try really hard to be organized in my business, and I teach it to my people all the time. You begin with an organized filing system for your videos so that you can leverage that content time and time again. If you can't find it, can't use it again, right?
Exactly.
So talk to me about some of the ways that you organize, or we can start with some of the Google tools that people might not realize are available. What are some tips and tricks that you can give some of us who are creative messes, actually creative geniuses? This is our superpower. Yes, all the ideas, all there, all the time, in one giant pile. How can you help us sort through those so that we can access them? Let's talk about teaching online. Maybe you've thought about it, but it feels overwhelming. You're worried about being on camera, not having the right tech, or figuring out how to translate hands-on workshops to a virtual setting. I've been there. But here's the truth. You don't need to be a tech genius or have a big audience to make online teaching work. That's why I'm inviting you to my free Virtual Teaching 101 webinar. I'll show you how to take what you're already doing and turn it into online classes that reach students globally, all with minimal equipment and simple steps. When I made the switch, my income per teaching hour jumped by 7 times compared to in-person workshops. And I'll show you exactly how it can work for you too. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Sign up now at academyforvirtualteaching.com and let's get you started on this incredible journey. I'll see you there.
Definitely. Well, I say there's 3 key tools I say to start with, and I call it the Google Trifecta, and that's your Drive, your Gmail, and your calendar. That's really like the foundation of your business, because your Drive is going to keep all of your files. Your Gmail is going to be how you communicate with others in whatever capacity. And then your calendar usually just keeps track of what's going on in your day-to-day life. So if we can get systems in place in those 3, it sets that foundation to be able to then go to the next level and start optimizing your businesses. So in Drive, and it sounds like you already teach a little bit about it too, is having that folder system where you know exactly where things are. You can go into your Drive. I say you can find any file in 15 seconds or less. And it is true. You really, truly can. If you have either a folder system that works well, or you're naming your files appropriately so that you can go and search for them. Because if you just name it video 1, that's not going to do much good.
That's one of our first basic processes. And I encourage people, and I do it myself, to use 20 words if you need to in the title, because then one of them's going to pop up next week when you're searching. You can't remember what you named the thing.
100%. And then you can start to dive into the little things that Google can do. Like if you have a team, there's ways that you can share your files effectively with other people. You can do advanced search, so you can only search for video files. So when you're putting in that keyword, you can go to the advanced search button and click videos. So you're only searching for videos and you don't have everything else coming up.
I don't think I knew there was an advanced search button. It's these tiny little things.
Yes, exactly. But if you know, it's like next time you're in Drive, in the little search bar, it looks like it's a couple lines with a little line through it. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's at the very end of the search bar, and you click that and it opens up a menu, and you have a bunch of other different things that you can put in for search. And one of it is, what is the file type? And so if you know it's a video, you can search for just videos. If you know it's a Google Doc, you can search for just Google Doc. And then that just decreases the amount of things that pop up in your search to reduce the overwhelm for finding whatever files you need.
That one little thing was worth this entire hour. I had to go over and click it real quick and go, whoa.
Yeah. So did you just pop it up? And how would you describe that little icon?
It is a little menu icon. It's 3 lines with sliders on them.
There you go, sliders. That's a good way of putting it. But also you can search by date. So you're like, I know I created this in 2003 sometime. You can search for only files that are in 2003, or I guess it should be more like 23, but you know what I mean? But you can get kind of granular to, instead of just typing in one word and
that's
doing that.
For amazing people who can actually remember any dates. Fantastic.
Right.
If you're one of those people, appreciate that superpower that you have yourself. That's amazing.
No, 100%. But then we can do the same kind of thing in Gmail. So there's different inbox styles in Gmail. And so to find the inbox style that works best for your brain is usually where I recommend starting. So you can either have one that shows all of the unread emails only, so you don't see unread and then read and then unread and read. You can just see those. You can sort them by your labels. So if you create labels, which are like folders in Gmail, then you can sort them by the different labels. The one that I find the most effective is the primary and promotions. So all of my newsletters that I subscribe to and everything go to the promotions tab. And then all of the primary emails that I receive are in the primary. And then I start to train Gmail by dragging over any newsletters that accidentally get into my primary over into promotions. But if you start to do that, then your Gmail will start to get under control. And then I also like to suggest have a number of unread emails in your mind of like, this is the max. Like, so you don't have 40,000 unread emails. And I have worked with people who have had 40,000 unread emails in their Gmail. But say, okay, I'm not going to let this go any higher than 100. I'm not going to let this go any higher than 200. And stick to that system and keep it under control, because Gmail can get wild really, really, really quickly. And then those same advanced searches work in Gmail too. You can search for emails in a certain date range. You can search for emails that have a certain attachments. And then you can even get into some automation in Gmail, which is pretty cool. And then calendar, I like to recommend having one calendar to rule them all. So keeping everything on one calendar, but color code it so you can see what's my personal things, what's my work things, what's my appointments that I have, what are the courses that I'm teaching. So you can actually start to label those, and then it really helps visually to see your week. But then also if you use an appointment scheduler like Calendly or something else, it makes it so much easier to have Calendly find those like empty holes in your calendar.
How is that different? I have a family calendar and a work calendar, and two different work calendars, and each of those have different color codings. How is that different than, I guess I haven't figured out how to have different color codings within one Google Calendar.
So your main Google Calendar, the one that's attached to your account, usually it's named with your name on it. If you right click on, well, if you go to the event, like open up the event, part of way down by your name is like a little colored dot, and you can click that and open it up, and it will give you a bunch of different colors. And so you can color code the event to be a color. On a free plan, you just get the colors. On a paid plan, you can label those colors. So then when I go in, yellow for me is work. So any work related event, I color code it yellow. And then on the on the paid plan, it'll also give you time insights. So it'll show you how much time are you spending on work-related activities? How much time are you spending in personal activities? Or how much time are you spending in meetings? So those colors can also help give you some insights into how you're spending your time.
If you actually write everything on your calendar, which I do. Yes. I have like 12 different colors, and every day is completely full with stuff, because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. And also if I don't
100%
look at my calendar, then it also doesn't happen.
I understand that.
So this is interesting. We work with creative people here. How do these systems support creativity? How do they reduce resistance to showing up in your business, to showing up for your students, to showing up for your shop customers? How do these things relate to each other, and one feeds the other and makes it easier?
So Google's really, it prides itself on two things. On one is being fairly simple and intuitive to apply. Like, it can be very complex, but it also can be very simple in how the tools work together. So, you can see your calendar events and connect them to Gmail. You can pull up Drive things and relate it, on Google Docs or Google Sheets. And so by having it all in an ecosystem that makes it interconnected, you can stay more organized and know where things are. And so, and again, it releases that mental energy, or that, like, by spending less time on what you have to do, you can spend more time on being creative. But it's also allowing more creativity aspects are coming into Google. They're adding more things that you can do just to think outside the box a little bit about, like, what can you use these tools for that aren't necessarily like word processing or slide presentations. So as creatives who use to teach other creatives, you could do a slide presentation make it very creative and make it interactive where it becomes almost like a workbook where you have your video embedded of how you teach, like a YouTube video embedded in a slide presentation with maybe boxes around it for people to then type in their answers after they watch it. There's a lot of different things that you can do with the Google tools that might just not be as, cut and dry as you think they might be.
Interesting. So you could create a course lesson like this, have it set to anybody with the account or with the link can access it and use it, and maybe embed it in your online course platform, or maybe if you have other systems in place so you can have paywalls and privacy passwords and things for access, maybe you can just use, my mind is going crazy with things. You could probably use only Google as your online course platform if there's a way to take care of all that other business part.
Yeah. Google doesn't do any of the payment processing except for through the appointment scheduler in Calendar. There's a Stripe integration there. But other than that, it doesn't do that. You could create a website on Google Sites and link to Google Docs or link to other things. It's harder to make it completely private on the Google Sites part. But you can do, so what I'm talking about is like, you can make a notebook in Google Slides. I call them an interactive notebook. Like you can set the pages to be 8.5 by 11, so it looks like a notebook. And then on a slide, you can actually insert a video into the slide and put it at the top. And then at the bottom could be a box where they could type in and respond to the questions, or even almost like a digital scrapbook. You could also do something where maybe you keep track of your progress over your course or your progress over a project that you're creating. And so you're taking pictures that you're making of like the beginning stages, then the middle stages, then the end stages, and have it in there. And because of the collaboration feature in Google Slides, you could actually, if you had a cohort, everybody could be working on the same slide deck and they could all be putting their pictures in, and you could have like a class or a cohort scrapbook at the end of the time of what it looks like through the whole entire time.
Which would be amazing for people who teach creative courses. Like everybody could put their project photo in it.
Yeah.
Does it give you code so you could actually embed that into another online course platform?
Yes and no. So there is a feature where you can publish to the web, and you can have embed code from there. So you could embed it. But it would be only in presentation mode. So for people just to see it, you'd have to give the actual link in order for people to access it, to collaborate inside of it.
And then they'd have to go there to do that.
Yeah.
But that would be That would be
but
interesting.
you could have, say you have a cohort, a 6-week cohort or something, you all put your pictures in of what you've created in there. You could publish it to the web and then put it on your website for everybody to see. It becomes almost like a testimonial or a scrapbook of that cohort. So you can use it not only internally, but you could also use it externally for promotion purposes too.
That sounds really, really cool. You've got the gears spinning all over the place. Let's go back to creating systems and integrations. You've seen a little bit of my business, about our lovely audience of creative video makers out here. What are some systems that you would suggest setting up if you're just starting?
So I'm a big fan of templates. So as much as you can template things, do it. So if you have the same kind of video process, like an SOP, create an SOP.
What does SOP mean?
Standard operating procedure.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yes. So if basically the steps that you take every time you create a video, this is what I do. Like create a template of that, and then you can make copies of it every time that you do it. And then you're making sure that you're repeating your process, but you've only created it once. Same kind of thing if you include any kind of like branding documents, maybe like workbooks or PDFs or something that go along the side. You can create that in Google Docs, create the template that makes it look like your branding with your logo on the top, however you want the fonts to be, maybe the headlines and such. And then all you have to do is make a copy of it, fill in the new information, and you've retained that same structure over and over again. If you're posting to YouTube, I have a video description that I use every time I post to YouTube. I have a template of that. So I make a copy of it, and then I have the structure, and I'm not having to recreate it, or even just copying and pasting takes time. So if you're trying to copy and paste from one document to the other, like that takes time to make sure it's formatted correctly. If you can just make a copy of the whole document, that system really, really helps. So think about as much as you can template as possible is great. The other thing I recommend is I am a big fan of dashboards, and I create them in Google Sheets. And the reason I like dashboards is because it's one document I can go to get to all my other documents. I mean, I know that Drive you can as well, but it's curated to whatever theme I need or whatever I need to access. So for example, I'm planning an event coming up for it's a summit, an online summit. And I have everything I need for that online summit in one Google Sheet, but it links to other documents. I put in links to a Google Doc with my emails. I put in links to my landing page. I put in links to the Google Forms I've used. But I always know the one place to go to get a hold of everything. So the more you can think about having a centralized place and how can I make this more simple and more easy is really the key.
Right. I've used Google Sheets for many, many things, including organizing whole conferences like that. You know, one sheet, and then it has a whole bunch of tabs with all the links, keeping track of everything. And often they become monsters out of control.
They can. But like if you're planning out your course, your program, you know, have one sheet that has all of your modules, and it links to all of your videos and has all of the descriptions and other things that you include with there. And then that way, you know, okay, I need to access something for this course. Then I go into that one document and I have it all together. Keep things as streamlined and as simplified as possible. And then it alleviates that that stress or that overwhelm you might feel of like, where did it go? Where can I find this thing?
Right. So why would somebody have these things in Google or in addition or instead of on their computer desktop? We work with workflows where we have a video folder, we put the raw files in another folder, finished files in another folder. In the raw files, it'll have subfolders with this is this technique or this course or this product. And then as they finish, they move over into finished videos. And then I tell my people to upload to online. What if we're worried about security online?
No, it's a great point. I think that Google, especially the Google paid plan for businesses, they have an extra layer of security involved in their cloud-based platforms tend to be more secure in regards to keeping your content. And it's always good to have a backup. So never rely on one. Even in regards to Google, I still say have a backup. So I like to put everything in Google for a couple reasons. One is that I can access it anywhere. I can go to any computer wherever I'm at, log into my account, and it's there. Versus it depends on how your desktop is set up. If you have a Mac, you might have it connected to iCloud. You might not. It might look different on different computers, but you know, I can get into Google Drive wherever I am. Also tends to have more storage space. I think I have 2 terabytes right now, 6 terabytes technically because I have multiple accounts. But you can easily increase the storage where it's more challenging to increase the storage when you have it on a desktop. I can also access on my phone. You know, if I need to quickly find a file, I can go to the Drive app on my phone, and I can go and I can quickly share it with someone else. And that's another thing too, is that in Google, you can share things really easily with other people versus if it's on your desktop, it's more challenging. So if you're connecting with team members or other people who are uploading things for you or whatnot, then I would highly recommend, using Google. But there's also a little known feature called Drive for Desktop. Have I talked to you about this one, Lyric, before? Drive for Desktop?
Not that I remember.
So it is something you can download to your computer, but it connects Google to your desktop. So you can do one of two things. You can either have a one-way sync or a two-way sync. So I have it set up with a one-way sync. So I can access anything in my Google Drive on my desktop, on my computer. I use a Mac, so I just go to Finder, and there's my Google Drive at the top. I press Google Drive, and then I can see everything that's in my Google Drive and access it there, and I don't have to go onto my computer. But it also helps me when I'm downloading, like if I am doing videos, I don't have to save it to my desktop or save it to my computer. I can save it directly to Google Drive just through my Finder window on my computer. But it also acts as a backup system too. So you can do a two-way sync. So it can start to read your computer and do a backup from the cloud. So if you're still, you're in a process where you don't want to disrupt the system you already have that's on your computer, but you want to have a backup of your files on Google, you can also use this to make sure that it backs up to the cloud as well.
Right. Backing up is such a huge thing. My current workflow is creating things on my device, immediately downloading it onto an external hard drive on my computer. I put all my video, photo stuff on an external hard drive. Those terabytes get filled up really fast when you're working with video. Right?
100%.
And then as they're finished and processed, then I upload it to my Google Drive. Because here's the thing, people, if you want to think into the future, if you want to build your business in a scalable way, you cannot continue putting in all the hours yourself. You're going to have to work with a team and have somebody who offloads the parts of your business that anybody could do, right? You're the only one who can be on camera, who can teach, who can impart this amazing creativity that you have to offer as a gift to your people. But somebody else can work with SEO. Somebody else can use that template, swipe sheet that you have and send communications back and forth to hiring groups or customer service for your people. And having a place, a repository for all of this data, all of these documents and systems that you can share with somebody, set it up now and it's going to be so much easier. I speak from experience that it takes a lot of work to train somebody to do your things. So if you start setting up the possibility for that, if you start setting up these templates and processes as you're using them, then it's going to be so much easier. And that's a huge reason I use Google folders for storage. It's because I do have a team now.
Yeah. And then they can access your things and get what they need. And then you also, as a business owner, can have control over who has access to what as well.
Right. So we work with visual people. We talked about color coding a calendar. What other tips do you have for organizing for visual brains, people who do this? I remember that dashboard that you showed me. All I remember, I'm closing my eyes and I don't remember the words. I don't remember how it's used. I remember the picture of the colors and the bars and thinking, oh, that would be useful. Can you describe that a little bit to us?
Yeah, so this is kind of talking about the dashboard before I created, and it's a product you can get on my website. It's called the Go-To Dashboard.
Tell us your website.
Oh, AdrienneFarrow.com.
There you go.
And it's a one-stop place for your business. So the idea is that you have one Google Sheet where you can access your branding, your offers, any information you want really to get your hands on right away is in this dashboard. But I've created the homepage to be very visual. Like there is a lot of color areas, so the different sections have different colors. You can actually put images in Google Sheets, so you can import image. So I have a motivational quote at the bottom. So every time that I open it up, I see that right there. I have a link page where I put all of the links that I want to access on a regular basis that I don't necessarily need to see on my homepage, but I have them in different categories. And each of those columns are different colors and different visuals. One of the things that Google Sheets added recently is tables. And tables can be color coded. You can color code those, and then you can add drop down menus, and you can color code the drop down menus, and then you can sort in the table so that, like, for example, because my event is on my mind. So I have a table with all the speakers, and I have day 1, day 2, day 3. And each day 1 is one color, day 2 is another color, day 3 is another color in the drop-down menu. So in the table, I sort by day, and it groups all of the ones for day 1 together, all the ones for day 2 together, and all the ones for day 3 together. But it's in a very distinct visual way because you can see all the color coding that goes there. So Google Sheets can do a ton. I think that not many people know this, but you can color code your folders in Google Drive.
Wait, what?
Yes. So if you right click on a folder, partially down the menu, it'll give you some colors. I'm going to go into my Drive just to make sure that I'm giving the right direction.
I see it.
You found it?
Yeah. So when you right click on a folder, the menu opens and one of them is organize. And there's folder colors there. We all should go through and just click all the buttons everywhere.
Right. Yep.
Who has time?
So you can group them by color. You can have assign a color a meaning. So all of my social media ones are in red folders. All of mine are in blue. This is in blue folders. So you can definitely do those. But you can also add emojis in front of file names or folder names. So if that's a visual thing that helps you out, you could have an emoji that's in front of anything to do, like an emoji is assigned to your course. So if you see that emoji, that has to do with your course. You can't search by emojis, so you can't really put that in. So you do need the other keywords, but it's a visual cue. And also emojis will help with organization of your files and your folders because it'll actually bring them up to the top. So any ones with an emoji will go up to the top. So that's a little quick way of doing that.
Simple things like on my task list that I share with my assistant. In the table, we've got color-coded urgent, to do eventually, and whatever's in the middle. And we've got color-coded drop-down for in process or completed. So that's, again, for visual people, being able to see at a glance the whole overall table and immediately find the things that are most important to us by that color is really helpful. We have talked also about artificial intelligence and ways people are using it in their business. And Google has some really interesting ways it's integrating things. Now, as visual artists, and as creative content creators, right, we have intellectual property. So artificial intelligence feels scary to a lot of people. What can you say to us to reassure us and give us some ideas for ways that it can be used to streamline our business ethically and effectively?
I like to use it as a productivity assistant more so than like a content creator. Right. And I think that helps me have that nice little division in there. It's really hard to know for sure how your data is going to be used, especially in this ever-changing world. But there is this one tool that Google provides. It's called NotebookLM. And it does not put your data on to the use your data to train its algorithm, and it also doesn't search the internet for any data. So it only works with your data. So for example, what you do is you upload whatever information you want to work with. So I'm going to say transcripts for my coaching calls. So I'll upload transcripts for my coaching calls. I can do that either individually, or I can do that in just one Google Doc. I can have one Google Doc and then keep adding a transcript every single time, and it will automatically update in NotebookLM.
Is this a paid service? Is it a different AI app? What is it?
It is a Google product, but it's a different AI Google product, and it's not paid. It's a free one. There is, if you have one of the paid plans, there's like an upgrade aspect to it. So you get like more storage, more sources you can add. But anybody can go to, it's just NotebookLM.com or .google.com, one of the two. But it will work within your own data, and it will allow you to use it as a research assistant, basically. So talk to it. So one of the things I like to ask is, what are the most frequent questions that my audience is asking? So I can gather from the transcript, what are the common themes that are coming up? What are the common things I'm talking about? What are the common tools that I need to focus on, etc. And then that, because it's working within my own data, I'm able to gather that information and then apply it however I feel like I need to. So if I can hear a reoccurring theme is, I don't know, we'll just say Google Docs. People keep asking me about Google Docs. Now I can get some tangible questions and then maybe create a YouTube video off of it or have a new course module based off of it.
Use that in your language. Yeah. Use that in your language for your messaging. Use their own words to answer their questions and understand their problems. So do you have to, is it separate from Google Docs? If you have a Google Doc already with all this, can you, is it part of NotebookLM, or is NotebookLM a separate app that you would then have to use additionally?
It's a separate app, a separate window that you have to pull up, but it's attached to your Google account. So you log in, it would be logged in through your Google account, so it can access your Google Drive. And when you add a source to a notebook, it would go in. It would open up your Google Drive, and then you could choose the Google Doc that you wanted to add to it.
So you're not creating another additional Google Doc. You're just attaching it.
Yep. So you're just uploading sources, and you can upload PDFs. You can upload YouTube videos, or give the link to a YouTube video. It has to be a
publicly available.
A public one, because what it's going to do is it's going to grab the transcript essentially. And I think you can do slides at this point, and then you can also just paste text in. But then you just start asking it questions, and it will spit out a couple of documents for you automatically. It'll automatically spit out like an FAQ, a timeline, like an overview summary. But it's a really great way of working within your own data to really get some of that key information. And then you know that it's not going to go and search the internet and be like, well, I found that, Joe Schmo is saying XYZ. Well, no, I don't want to know what he's saying. I want to know what my own audience is saying. I want to know what my own audience is doing. So that's a very unique Google tool that is not out there.
So it's siloed AI. I love AI in so many different ways for this kind of thing, but it's only a tool that's ever as good as the input you give it. So I have it always use my input and then give me ideas. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. And then Google is starting to integrate its AI system, Gemini, into tools. And you're going to find that on a paid plan. It's not on the free plan. It's only on the paid plan. But what that does is it allows, one of the things I like is that it can quickly give me a summary, even of an email thread. So say I have 5 or 6 emails. I can go over to Gemini and say, summarize this for me. And it'll give me a summary of all of those emails so I can quickly get that information. It can give me draft email responses. So I can, and it'll start obviously to learn based off of what I've been doing and what I've been saying. So, and I can prompt it and say, write a response on, a customer service response saying, sorry, I don't give refunds or whatnot. And it will spit out a draft response for you that then you can edit and then send off. So it's going to start to save some time there. But the key thing is ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, I love all those tools for a lot of different reasons, but you still have to go talk to them and then copy and paste whatever it is and then bring it over. And this works right directly within the tool itself.
Does it work? So is it only for a Google Workspace account, or is it an add-on app that you can pay for Gemini just itself to tie into your regular everyday Google account?
It's right now only available on a paid Workspace account. It used to be an add-on that you could pay for, but recently, within the last couple of months, Google has integrated it in with its paid program. So now you have to upgrade. So
let's talk about the difference between, because we're professionals, we're business owners. Let's talk about the difference between a personal Google account. Even like I have 2 different personal Google accounts, but one's named my business. But it's not a Workspace account. So tell me what the difference between those 2 is. I would have to pay for a Workspace account and probably transfer all of my billion things over there. But why would I do that? What is the advantage besides having integrated AI? What does a Workspace account give me that a private account wouldn't?
So a free Google account is just the one that you sign up for that's generally like at gmail.com. And that one will give you, I think it's 15 gigabytes of storage. You get access to the majority of all of the Google tools and a lot of the features, but not all the features. And it's the one that most of us are just used to on a regular emailing basis. A Workspace account is designed with businesses in mind. So it is the business plan for Google, and it starts as little as $7 a month. That's the starter plan. And then the next plan up is $14 a month. And that connects to your domain name and allows you to create a team underneath your domain name. So your email address would no longer be at gmail.com. It would be at whatever your domain name is at. And so that creates a professional email address that I like to say is your professional business card. It's part of your branding. And there are ways of connecting if you have your email address through like, GoDaddy or something, you can connect it into like a free Gmail account area. So there's ways of doing that as well. But this what it does is it allows you to have multiple users under one umbrella, and everybody's going to have an email address under there. So if you're starting to create a team, I have Adrienne at adriennefarrow.com, but I also have VA at adriennefarrow.com. And then I also have control over their email addresses. So if my VA were to leave, I can reset the password and see what's going on in her account and make sure that everything's okay before, passing it on to the next person. And then you can
it's not a domain hoster or server, but you can get business emails through it. Like I have several emails for my people through GoDaddy who host my website, but I have to say, it is a huge pain to get everybody logged in and and I've had problems with them. And Google's just always been so easy for everybody to get into.
It's really smooth, really, really smooth. And then that allows you for the ease of sharing of files within your domain. So you can use something called shared drive to make sure that everything, you can access the files. If a team member were to leave, you're not worried about them taking the files with them. They stay with your domain. So you can make sure either those files get transferred to your account or, lock them out of their account so you can go and access those files. There are a couple other features that are only available on a paid plan. So there are e-signatures. So if you ever use contracts, like, through DocuSign or something like that, now there's an e-signature feature in side of Google Docs. And that's on the middle plan. You can use appointment schedulers, which is like a Calendly or a TidyCal or something like that. That's also on the free plan, but you only get one. And then on the business plan, you can have multiple and you can charge for appointments. So if you do coaching appointments and things like that. Templates are easier on a business plan. You can use the template gallery and make sure that you can template out. And then I think also a key feature is the security on a business plan is an upgraded level of security versus a free level of security. And you do not get access to Google support. So if you have anything go wrong with your account on a free plan, you kind of have to go to the help pages and pray you can figure it out, versus you can actually contact support directly through your admin panel in a paid plan and get that support that you need. So that's also a key feature as well. But I like to say, if you have a business, you should have a Google Workspace, because it's designed with businesses in mind. And I do a lot of migrations for people. So I do a lot of like consolidating accounts, moving people from a free plan to a paid plan, moving people from Microsoft over to Google, all of those things. And it's harder down the road when you have a lot more files, a lot more emails, a lot more things to do. So it's a really small cost in the grand scheme of things. So if anybody is ever interested in migrating, let me know. I am a referral partner, and I do get discount codes. So I can also give you a discount on your paid plan.
Excellent. That's wonderful. We'll put those links in the show notes as well. Adrienne, this has been super helpful. My mind is spinning with all the things I should be doing. One of the things that I'm thinking about Google Workspace is that it's like the difference between being a hobbyist or a sole proprietor or a limited liability corporation, right? So if you're an LLC, your business is separate from your personal life. The only reason they're both sole proprietor and LLC are both pass-through corporations in the United States. So you're taxed the exact same way. But if somebody sues you and you have an LLC, they can't take your house. They can take your business, but not your house. Google Workspace is kind of the same. It's set up as the business itself, and has those protections in place. Like you were saying, if a team member leaves, they can't take your business with them. You have everything all in one place. This sounds, I'm like ready to do it now. I need to do it now before this account gets completely out of hand. Yes. Adrienne, thank you so much for being in here. And we like to end with some fun questions, and you can answer any off the wall way you want. What is the last thing you made?
I have been getting into gluten-free sourdough. So I'm a baker.
Ooh.
That's my hobby. That's how I create, is I bake and I make goodies. And I have been gluten-free for the last couple of years and have just started to perfect gluten-free sourdough. So I made a loaf of gluten-free sourdough.
Oh, and that takes skill. So here's the thing, for an ADD person, that is a skill, because bread, all those things are things you have to pay attention to at different times over a long period of time. That's why
and you have to remember to feed it. You have to remember to feed a sourdough starter every single day. It took me probably a good 3 or 4 times before I got this one to really stick and grow. And I think I've gotten like about 3 or 4 loaves out of it.
Yay.
So it's producing. It's good. But yes, I do have to remember, I've gotten into a routine of I feed it every morning, and so.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The only time I could ever do anything like that was during COVID, where I couldn't go anywhere else or I was home all day. As soon as I was out again, that flew off the table. So I admire people with the stick-to-itiveness, if that's a new word, by the way.
Yes, we'll make it one.
To be able to do that. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us where people can find you.
So my website is adriennefarrow.com, and then you can go to my everything page, and that's really where all of my main offers are, my freebies, etc. The go-to community is my main offer, and that's a place where you can come with all of your Google questions. We focus on getting those systems in place so that you can really get that back into your business built and solidified. I do coaching sessions where we go deeper into different Google tools. A lot of what we've done on this call, but with visuals of like unlocking, like, hey, did you know you could do this? Or, hey, I want you to know you can do that. We had regular talks on AI, so I'm keeping up with what's new and up to date. And then just general ask me anything calls, like come to me with your questions. I'm here to answer them, here to help support you. You can find me on YouTube as well at Adrienne Farrow. And then I have a great Facebook group called called That Google Group. And it is growing every day. And it's a great place to not only come and find out what's going on in the Google world. I'll post some updates, let you know what things are happening. But a lot of people post their Google questions in there too. And if I can't respond, the community members jump on and give different perspectives and respond too. So it's a great place just to go to get some knowledge about what's happening in the Google world.
Everything is so much better with community and with knowledgeable experts like Adrienne Farrow, which has 2 N's and 2 R's, my friends. So look up her offers. Again, I hired her for 1 hour to just come in and look at what I had. And that hour was so packed with so many useful, actionable, really, really helpful tips that have helped me streamline my business. So once again, thank you, my friend, and signing off to all of our lovely creatives here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on Creatives on Camera. I know there are countless podcasts out there, and I'm honored you spent your time here. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the next one, please subscribe to the podcast. Then, if you'd like to stay connected and get even more tips on teaching, marketing, and video creation, sign up for my email list at academyforvirtualteaching.com. You'll get exclusive insights and updates delivered straight to your inbox to help you grow your creative business with ease. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes below in the episode description for links to everything mentioned today. And I'll see you in the next episode.